has started. Even my journey has not been different. Everything
Yeah.
start from a little observation and awareness. So that's where I also begin back then in the college, because I think I have shared this story a lot of
We often focus on speaking when we talk about communication skills. But do you think silence also play an important role in communication?
silence.
Good afternoon, Anshuman. How are you doing today?
Very good afternoon, Swati. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing absolutely insane this year and really excited to have a conversation with you. How about you doing today?
I'm also doing great, and thank you so much, Anshuman, for being here on my platform. And I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah.
So, Anshuman, we are meeting for the very first time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. And so, hello everyone. My name is Anshuman Misra. I come from UP, specifically from a very known part of UP, that is Ayodhya. And I closely work with the people who know what to say but really struggles to say it clearly and confidently into the public. So last 2.5 years, I'm working with them through my YouTube channel, through my YouTube conversation, and my personal mentorship, where I'm guiding someone to being better at communication and articulation, because my core belief is very simple, that if someone can communicate better, their life improves significantly in various aspects. Personally, they grow, professionally, they grow, socially and emotionally too, they grow too much. So, not I'm focusing on to the part of only language skill. I'm widely focused onto the personality development and communicational aspect of the life. So that's a brief about me.
Very nice to know about you that. And Anshuman, I have seen some of your conversation videos, and I really admire the clarity and the confidence with which you express your thought. And so I am so curious, how did your journey with communication skills actually begin?
Yeah, sure. Like, this is the very fundamental question comes after listening anybody who is good at their um, you know anything. So we get to know that, we think that how this person has started. Even my journey has not been different. Everything start from a little observation and awareness. So that's where I also begin back then in the college, because I think I have shared this story a lot of time, but I love sharing because I feel this is the time when people feel relatable, that if this person can do that. So in that aspect, I'll just make it very brief. In nutshell, something scary got happened at the very first day of the college, where I was not able to introduce myself in English. So that time I felt, because I chose engineering and computer science for my college, and the very first day this incidents got happened, and I thought, okay, I am aware now, I do need to know where I need to go. So that's where the first time I felt I do need to work specifically on my English spoken part. That time I was not much concerned about communicational, wider communicational aspect. But yeah, that was the first day of my college, once I been aware and I started taking action towards my communicational and more specifically English spoken journey.
Okay, very nice to know about your journey, and you started from your college when you got admission. Okay,
Correct.
so Anshuman, many people think communication simply means speaking good English. But from your experience, what does true communication really mean?
Yeah, that this is actually a very great question. Why I'm saying this, because I have seen people talking and taking in different direction. And the one very common myth I have observed along on the internet and anywhere people talk about communication, they find someone speaking English fluently and they generalize it that this person is very good at their communication and articulation. I don't believe that. Probably I might be wrong in some cases, but in large sum, what I feel, communication is not an language specific thing. It's more
Mm,
about what you think, what you wanted to express. Are you able to express it clearly? And at the last, if I ask you one question, if anybody wanted to know that how better at their communication, there are two ways to judge it. How I personally do it. First,
mm,
did you really deliver what you wanted to say? Or at last you'll have to say it, I hope you get it. Even I do this mistake very often, that I ask for confirmation that whether I'm able to deliver the things what I'm thinking or not. So number one, if you are actually able to deliver the thought what you're thinking in your mind, then you are a good
mm,
communicator. Number two aspect of judging someone is good at their communication or not is, I talk to you, And lately, I asked Swati, did you really enjoy talking to me? This is a
Mhm.
little bit funny, but I really just this way. Two only method I follow to know that how someone is better the communication is just firstly to know their aspect, that whether they are able to deliver things from their end what they wanted, and second whether the second person enjoy the conversation and would love to come up again and wanted to have a talk. As simple as that.
Very nice. And the way you express, is really commendable. And you know how to express your idea to people, and people really understand you well. And Anshuman, many people understand English grammar, but they still hesitate to speak confidently. So, in your opinion, like what is the real difference between knowing English and communicating effectively?
Again, very good question. I'm really happy to answer all those questions. And first and foremost, I would like to give a disclaimer here. So, whatever I'm telling might be subjective and might be true for some of the people. So, please take suggestions from everywhere, but do not find or, just follow it blindly. Do your own experiment, understand your thoughts around before, going and letting any suggestions. Coming back to your question, correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
you asked me that somebody, majority of people, we are not native speaker, we know the grammatical
Mhm.
portion because of our school college curriculum, but we really struggle onto the speaking part, right? So you ask the
Right.
difference between both of them. Got it.
Right.
So again, like, here we'll have to be very subjective and very narrow minded that what exactly we wanted to learn, right? People say that I really wanted to speak a language, right? But they ended up learning or watching a lot of YouTube video. They ended up just reading so many books, and they find once it comes to really speaking, they feel stuck. It is something
Yeah.
like you are asking me, Anshuman, tell me the rules to, or tell me how I can swim, as simple as that. And I'm telling you to go and watch the YouTube videos or go and read some book that how to swim. So actually, if you really wanted to know to swim, you'll have to ultimately come to the water. As simple as that. So same goes with the speaking. I think speaking is more about practice with whatever grammar you have. The first and
Mhm.
foremost focus should be speaking, because naturally and ultimately your goal is to open your mouth and utter the word. As simple as that. People make it really complicated. I don't know whether they do it intentionally or unintentionally, but I will consider it as unintentionally because they might not be aware. So, if you are really feeling that I do need to know how to speak better, go and speak. This is the first and foremost priority should be of yours. Number second, for those people who now knew that how to speak, they know that how to hold the conversation, doesn't matter they are
Mhm.
grammatically correct or not, then second stage comes, you do need to refine yourself again and again, because this refinement process would go for so long, maybe till your whole life you will be again implementing, learning new things. But since you are being focused, you know that what you wanted to learn from out of that period, so you are being very concise. I mean to say again is, you should know that why you're starting, what you wanted to learn, and number three, what is the process. If you know this, you would never confuse on any part of your life. So if you're focused on speaking, go and speak. If you are
Mhm.
focused and you know your stage, that you know how to speak, now you start refining yourself with grammar, with vocabulary, with pronunciation, with wider aspect of communication.
Mhm. Okay, very nice. And yes, people would know that how they can communicate and how they can express themselves easily while, focusing on refining over a period of time. When they
Right.
know how to speak or how to hold a conversation, then they can gradually move towards refining themselves, how to express. Okay, very nice. So, Anshuman, we often focus on speaking when we talk about communication skills. But do you think silence also play an important role in communication?
Silence, what you mean by silence is pause, am I getting it correct? Taking right
Uh,
pauses.
yes, silence and when you listen to other person.
Got it. Thank you for
Mm,
clarity. Because uh, taking pause while speaking is different, and taking
mm,
pause to listen somebody is different. So
right.
that's why I asked for the clarity, but I get that in what sense you're asking. So listening, you ask, in communication is how much important. This is your question, right?
Mm,
Very important.
yes.
Let me tell you,
Mm,
back then, even still, I remember one of the greatest advice says I have ever received in terms of communicational aspect is what I'll share within 20 seconds. But before that, I would like to tell one story of mine because I
Mhm.
was being indulged into this English spoken and communicational aspect from last 2.5 years. 2 years, I was being driven by being a very eloquent speaker because my focus, as I told, my I was being focused onto speaking part. I was not good at introduction. I was heavily focusing on how do I need to express myself better. But once I started knowing that I am a eloquent speaker, I can handle the situations better, but I do need to understand others people's psychology, how they think they are, or how what is their opinion, how I can make a good connection. That's where the communication comes. So there, one of the great mentor on YouTube, I was watching his video, and he told me this thing that every aspect of life, even communicational, follows this thing that is 80-20% rule. I hope that people are aware if they are coming from communicational background or they are heavily interested to learn this thing. So 80% in communication is all about listening others, because
Okay.
a fundamental thing, you go deeper diver and trying to understand why do we communicate to express or exchange of ideas and thought. So it's
Mhm.
not only about my ideas, it's all about who am I talking to. Unless until you listen, you cannot even know that what people might be getting or expecting from me. So listening in communication, is major and wider aspect than speaking. Let me again clear it. Listening is much important than speaking at the first hand while talking on the communication bit, because it is the 80% of your communicational aspect. Yeah,
Okay, very nice. Nicely explained that. Listening is really the core of communication skill.
true.
Okay. So yourself in a very better way. So what kind of practical habit, helped you to improve your communication skills? Are there any daily practices you would recommend to learners?
First of all, thank you so much. I really appreciate your questioning how you are hosting the session. I really love that. I find very less people who are having this potential to hold the conversation, ask very genuine question. So thank you from that aspect. And
Thank you so much. You like.
second, yeah, you asked two questions. First is how and what habit do I follow in terms of being better at communication skill, and what advices I give to other person to do the same. So I would say in terms of being communication, here I'm being very specific. Let me tell you, since we talked about a bit of difference of being a good speaker and being a good communicator is being different, I feel that this should be the motto of this podcast or the conversation we are having. If people could understand this, I think we had achieved the motto of this conversation. Coming back to your question, so here more specifically talking about communicational, that how and what practices I do follow in my daily life to being better at the communication is three thing. Number first, as I told, the communication is more about listening others. So being socially aware that what people understand. Even I was going through with one of the very famous book of communicational aspect. I hope that everybody had heard the name. Shout out to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale
Okay.
Carnegie. One of
I
the
didn't read.
This is one of the exceptional book, and I feel that every enthusiast who really wanted to know how human psychology work, how to be better at communication skill, they
Can you
should.
repeat the name of that book again?
Sure. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So this is the
Okay.
book name, and even it also mentioned the same 80-20% rule. And it mentioned that if you are communicating with somebody, try to understand that emotion. We
Mhm.
are mostly driven by word. I say something to Swati would be
Mhm.
listening to that, understanding from that word. But a best communicator of word would not give the much importance to your words, but they will be more focused onto the emotion hidden from that word. And you
Okay.
would only able to do that once you are being a great listener, not even good listener. Good listener will always understand the things from superficial level, that what do you sound, what words did you use. But great and exceptional communicator would always try to understand the hidden emotion by that
Mhm.
word. So that is number one. If you, in my case, if I try to talk to somebody, I would always try to figure it out that what is the emotion driven by other, what actually they wanted to listen from me. It's as simple as that. If you know that what other people are expecting, then only you can do this. So number one is listening skills. Number two
Okay.
is, again, coming back to 20% of aspect, now you understood the thing what other people is wanting from your side. Number second is speaking, because everyone is
Mm,
voice. I really heard this quote and I love quoting it again and again. Everyone is voice until they speak. You cannot judge a person unless they open their mouth, because that's the first expression or the idea of knowing somebody, right? So
mm,
if you open your mouth, be a little
mm,
aware, because now you are being aware with the context what other people is expecting from you. So mostly I feel that if I ask a
mm,
question to anybody, they will blabber for 30 or 40 minutes. They can talk a lot. I really appreciate those person for being an eloquent speaker, but I would not rate them a good communicator, because at the end, if I ask the person, other person whom they are interacting, that whether did you get your answer, they'll say, yeah, Anshuman gave 30 minutes of speech and it was really great. He was being enthusiastic, but I really didn't get the point. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to say is here, he's a great and eloquent speaker, but he really failed at the communication aspect. So understanding
mm,
what other people want, and while you speak, try to bridge the gap and try to answer the question in minimalistic way. You can take, if you feel that you are not comfortable only expressing the thought in very minimal sentence, take time, take more sentences like me to explain with examples, to come up with your own ideas that how you can explain, but make sure whatever question
mm.
has been asked, you should
Yes.
be able to give the proper answer. That is number two. And number three, the
Mm,
message part. Again, I'll just link it with number two. Question has been asked. You know the context.
mm,
You know why people are asking, because you are aware
mm,
with their emotion, and you are answered for, let's suppose, 30 minutes. They didn't get the answer. So third, your message, one key actionable step, because again, I really believe on to practical learning of any aspect. So if people are watching anything, they should get at least one thing out of this video, so that they can start implementing from this. So the message you give out of your communicational speech, out of your answer, should be very clear, and you should highlight it again and again and again, because this is human tendency,
mm,
Swati. I hope that you would agree that if you're
mm,
listening somebody for, let's suppose, half an hour, and they are giving
mm,
you tons and tons of new informations, and after that thing,
mm,
if you say that what did you learn, tell me two things, probably people would not reminding two things. So you have to make sure that one message what you really wanted to give in terms of asking the question should be very clear, and you should have been highlighted again and again and again and again, so that they really get the point. So in summary, first is listening is very important in terms of being good at communication. Number two,
mm,
understanding and bridging and giving the factual and precise answer. And number three, your message, your intention, and your clear actionable step should be aligned. That's what I do follow in my real life, and that would be the one suggestion what people do need to follow.
mm. Very nicely explained that we should be, if we want to, other person understand us or what they want from us, we should be repeat that message again and again so that they can the core idea of that. Okay,
Correct.
listening and understanding the people as well as repeating the
Highlighting the
message,
message. Exactly.
highlighting the message. Okay, very
Exactly.
nice. So I have seen some of your video and your conversation feel very natural and engaging. So what do you think makes a conversation truly meaningful rather than just a exchange of words, according to you?
Again, like a good, very good question. I mean, the more you are asking question, I'm really being open. You are making me comfortable to talk more, and I feel this is one way that how people should ask question, and they would give the space by asking right question, so that we can get most out of this video. Because this is one of the video where I'm talking more and more. Because once I go on a podcast or any kind of conversation, I make sure that I do engage, and I'm very curious to learn from others, so I often ask very many more questions. But this time it's been reversed, so I feel genuinely good, because the way you are asking question is really eloquent. You are making
And I
me
know you are a
engage.
kind of communication skills, you know how to communicate because in from your video I got to know about you. That's why I have jotted down some question for you. So can you can
Lovely.
express yourself, your idea, how you think, how your mindset work. Yes.
Lovely, lovely. Could you please go over it again the question, Swati,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
really, yeah.
Mhm. Like I have seen some of your video and your conversation really feel very natural and engaging. So what do you think makes a conversation truly meaningful? So rather than like just a simple of exchange of words, according to you, what
Okay.
makes a conversation truly meaningful?
Yes, again, like this is what I would like to link with the previous question because the answer comes from similarity. If we are
Mm,
conversating with someone, not
mm,
only for the behalf of YouTube conversation, let it be general real conversation, because again, we are very clear that why we are conversating, right? For
mm,
understanding others, for exchanging the ideas, for understanding that why people is conversating and whether I'm able to get a connection or not. So for establishing a connection, for exchanging of ideas, what we feel that why we are conversating. So again,
mm,
if you are able to fulfill this by your words, good to have.
mm,
It means you are a very good speaker. You know that how to bridge emotion with the word, because that is the first and foremost thing we can have as an asset, right? If you'll ask any questions, Swati, tell me how do you feel on this topic. So majority and I'll be knowing just by expression of your word, unless your body
mm,
language. And I feel that yes, that is another aspect of communicational thing, but that would come later because here we are words driven, right? We cannot express our whole ideas just by you know expressing something from our body language, from your facial expression. That would be taken misjudged and so many things. So the first and foremost is by words only. So I feel that if you are able to make the conversation and bridge the gap between the other people what you wanted to say efficiently by
mm,
words, so obviously you can play around words and you should be very selective what words you're choosing, because
mm,
the other person is saying something and trying to express their emotion with the words, so you should able to comprehend that if person is saying that I really I'll give you a very good example. I One of
mm,
my friend I was talking to very often, and he said me one single line in two different
mm,
contexts, and I understood this thing from there itself, that we were casually chatting and he told me, Anshuman, I'm feeling a little tired.
mm,
I just said, okay, tell me why you are feeling so. I asked, and I get to know, okay, he was a little bit frustrated. He was doing his work. He was not getting a result. That is
mm,
the first thing, first context. Number two, very recent again, he also told me the same words that, Anshuman, I'm really feeling tired. Again, I asked that,
mm,
what happened? Then he explained that from last couple of months, he has been again doing the same task, but not getting the
mm,
results. He's feeling so frustrated. Negative thoughts are coming, and now he even don't want it. He doesn't want it to do anything out of that. And I feel the
mhm,
person is same. The words are the same, but maybe the emotion or the kind of connection he wanted to express is different. So
mhm,
even the same words could be taken in different manner if we understand the emotions, and we can only know about emotions once we really cared about others, right? So if I'm talking to Swati told me something, I get, if I'm just a good speaker, what I'll do, I'll started saying everything in detail, that okay, this is my opinion, this is my opinion, this is my opinion.
mhm,
But if I'm really good communicator, what I'll do, I try to diagnose why exactly you're telling like that. Am I really getting the whole
mhm,
context? And I'm sure that nobody can get 100% context, because we do have
mhm,
different individual personalities, right?
mhm,
We cannot be go into others body and understand their thoughts and ideology, but rather we can ask good questions as you are doing here. So
mhm,
that's how people can get the context and can comprehend why this is, and then bridging the gap and coming all together with good words, you can actually
mhm,
fulfill the conversation. And that's what made I feel the conversation very effective.
mhm. And really nicely, I agree with you that sometimes, you know, our friend tell us about their problem. They don't want any kind of advice from us.
Exactly.
They want we can listen to them.
Right.
You know, sometimes we are just some people what they do, like if someone asks them their problem, they try to give advice them, so they are
Exactly.
so not feeling understanding, and when you understand them, you actually ask questions, you don't give advice. So I totally agree with you this point that
Yeah,
sometimes we just understand them and try to understand why they are feeling like that. We can ask some questions related to that so that we can also understand their situation.
correct.
Sometimes, every time you can't give advice to the person
And we
because
shouldn't.
our people want to, understand so
Right.
that the other person can understand them. Okay.
This is very great
Hmm.
concern, Swati, you highlighted. I would like to add a couple of points here.
Hmm.
Just first, yeah, first and foremost, if somebody is telling something, they 80% of the time they genuinely don't need any advices. This is already
Right.
written in the same book what I mentioned, How to Influence and Influence People. Nobody
Okay.
really wanted to take advices because they know themselves better, and they know that if I'll
Hmm.
go and ask the advice, so probably because they were not having any context, I'll be getting or ended up having wrong advice which would not be relevant for me. So if
Hmm.
somebody is coming to you, so it means they believed on you, that they believe that this person would listen. So try to understand, comprehend their emotions by
Hmm.
words and by the feelings, just by asking question. That is very good method. And if you really feel that you do need to add on something, you are very close, you understood the context, again ask for clarity, that see, I understood your point, do you really want me to help or give any
Hmm.
suggestion from me? That would be far better approach, in my life and dealing with the people or relationship with my surrounding one drastically change, but just by asking this simple thing. Now I'm being very good at listening, I understand people, why they are feeling so, and 80% of the time they don't generally need any suggestion, they feel very calm because there is
Hmm.
nobody who are there to listen them, right? So if you listen somebody, even take our example, if we are